If you're looking to travel to the Garden State, you're doing a lot better than we are here. Here in New York, we're still kind of on lockdown, but in New Jersey, where my next guest, Fernando Uribe, hangs out, it is a little different in here. People are allowed out, beaches are open, bars are open, restaurants are open, all that other good stuff. And to check in on what's happening in the Garden State and everything else going on around the world with the glaring hypocrisies out there, my good friend Fernando Uribe joins me right now. He's the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, and my regular money guest on Monday to lead it off. Hey, Fernando, how are you?
John, good afternoon. It's great to be back in leadoff here today on Liquid Lunch.
I love it when you're in the leadoff spot. I know we're going to have a man on to get things going. But, Fernando, you know, there's a lawsuit out there now where the governor is actually suing a town for taking it upon themselves to say, hey, we're not going by your crazy rules anymore. What's happening? This seems like the height of hypocrisy.
Well, it certainly is, John. And this is a really very interesting story here in the Garden State because the Asbury, Asbury Park City Council, which is preeminently all Democrats, decided to take homage with the governor as it pertains to today, June the 15th. Outdoor dining is allowed in New Jersey, again, with responsible social distancing. Certain safety precautions still have to be met. But the Asbury Park City Council decided to sort of go one further and push their chips to the middle of the table and decide to want to include indoor dining. And this certainly caught the attention of the governor last week during his daily presser. And of course, the governor took a lot of flack last week, and rightfully so, for the last few months where he's been telling us to stay indoors. If you go outside, you're being irresponsible, you're going to contribute to people getting sick. And guess what the governor was doing last weekend? He was marching in a protest. Yes, he was wearing a mask, but many people around him were not. And then Monday morning, he decides to say, oh, make sure if you went to a protest, don't forget to get tested. I mean, it's hypocrisy. And now he's trying to infringe upon parts of the Jersey Shore, which are so dependent, John, when it comes to hospitality and tourism, especially during these months, to prevent them from trying to open up. I understand that the governor has that legal authority, but people also have the authority to, sort of challenge the governor's executive order. And what does the governor do? He decides to waste taxpayer dollars by sicking the state attorney general, Gabir Gawal, on the city of Asbury Park. And obviously a judge agreed with the governor, no surprise there. And thus far, again, only outdoor dining is allowed in Asbury Park, but it's raised eyebrows across the state because, again, it reinforces how hypocritical Governor Murphy is, John.
Got it. Well, Frankie's down in Asbury Park today, so I might have to check in with him and see what's happening down there. Now, aside from being a great broadcaster, and I see your Politically Direct podcast is really taking off, thousands and thousands of views. I'm following it closely. Congrats on that. But you do double duty as a faculty member at Bergen Community College, so you really got, the beat of the street on what's happening on campuses. It sure seems like the liberal left and encouraged by college campuses, it sure seems like they have become completely intolerant to anything. It's their tolerance is only if you're saying what they like.
Well, John, it's a problem I've encountered for years in academia, and a story that just came out over the weekend. I mean, this is a guy who I know personally. I've met him at conferences. He's a professor at the University of Chicago. His name is Harold Uhlig, Uhlig. Hopefully, our viewers can Google him and find out some of the duress he's under because he decided to, I think in a very constructive way, critique the Black Lives Matter movement, specifically for those that want to sort of defund the police. And I've articulated on my podcast and other programs how insane that narrative is. But sure enough, you've had other academics call for his firing. And this, again, is sort of perpetuating the typical intolerance that exists in academia. I mean, I've gotten a lot of grief from people that I work with and said, I don't know why you host programs the way you do. I don't know why you make appearances on certain shows. But I said, listen, they're reputable programs. And if you can disprove anything that I'm saying, feel free. Let's have a debate. But most liberals, John, in academia or anywhere else, don't want to have a debate. It's either the cancel culture. It's either trying to silence you. I mean, we're seeing it now. We're tearing down statues because they trigger us. Like, what's next? Book burning? It's deplorable, John. And quite frankly, it's something that the liberal media also is complicit in.
No, the liberal media is right in tune with it. And, I'm going to talk a little later about George Soros and, he and his brethren, who are looking for open societies and one world order. They started years and years ago infecting college campuses to try to get the campuses to go left. Now, in the last couple cycles, Soros has started pouring money into local DA's races, small municipality DA's races, and also here in New York, there was a very slim margin in the New York State Senate. The Republicans controlled it by like 2 votes, and Team Soros poured a boatload of money in there to take back the Senate. So we're in one-party rule here in the state of New York, thanks to George Soros. But it sure looks like spending money in a lot of ways, including social media, is really creating this subculture with millennials. And they're really being pushed into action through social media and that crowd herd mob mentality. How bad is what's happening with social media coordinated with the college and Soros money? I mean, we're literally under attack, I think, here.
No, listen, John, you're absolutely right. And for our viewers that aren't familiar with George Soros, again, I would urge you to Google him. He is a destructive force, I think, in our political process. And one of the things that always makes me laugh about the liberal media is when they denounce other business people around the country, such as the Koch brothers or others. Listen, I understand if you want to have a sort of a ideological disagreement, but George Soros, John, is such a toxic personality in our American politics. And quite frankly, what he's trying to do is disrupt our political system. So everybody, the last 3 years, liberals and Democrats have been talking about Russia, or collusion, or talking about how foreign entities are corrupting our political system. Well, how about George Soros? He's a foreign entity too. And he is engaging in extremely dangerous type of rhetoric. And he's putting money forward. And a lot of these protesters and a lot of this sort of political ideology that, quite frankly, John, we know is unhealthy, and it's counterproductive to our political process. And I wish more people would wake up about George Soros, because he, quite frankly, is a very dangerous person right now in our political climate.
Yeah, no, I keep trying to dig a little deeper, try to figure out, where the sources of the money are. I'm talking to all different kinds of people from all walks of life, and it is really a concerted effort on behalf of open societies. They're also behind Black Lives Matter. They're training and organized field organizers to go out there and foment these. There are tons of peaceful protesters out there, but it seems like the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa folks are quite organized. And, if you got some college kid who's been programmed on his campus that, the left is good and the right is bad, and they go to a peaceful rally, and then all of a sudden there's this group of hooligans who are well-funded and organized handing out rocks. These kids just start throwing rocks because they think there's nothing behind it. But, I saw like 200 protesters so far have been arrested. And I don't know if Soros is going to be bailing them all out, but I know he bailed out a few who threw Molotov cocktails. So it looks like the situation's getting worse before it gets better, buddy.
John, I have to say, though, that, again, it goes back to what our kids are learning, not just in our colleges and universities, but unfortunately it's filtering its way down to our high schools, our middle schools, and elementary schools, because our kids are being indoctrinated by liberal agendas in our educational system, in our curriculum. I wish more and more people would look into this, because, quite frankly, it's toxifying our education system. And you know what? Again, you're a dad. You just had your daughter graduate from college, and that's an amazing accomplishment. But along the way, there are many professors that I'm sure attempted to corrupt her ideologically, and more kids in our country do this.
No question. All right, Fernando, we got to leave it there. Thank you, buddy. Check out his podcast. It's on fire. Politically Direct on Insider NJ. We'll check back with you next week, brother. Thank you. You stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. 1 minute. I'm going to come back and update you on all the news of the day.